Hello everyone, it's Jack from Wargamer Online here, and today we're going to be looking at the Hedonites of Slaanesh new Battletome. And I think this is something that a lot of folks out there are going to be excited about. It's been much anticipated. Everybody knows Slaanesh has not had a lot of love recently, so I think this Battletome, and from what I've read of this Battletome, it's definitely going to be something that you folks are going to like. So I've had a quick look through at the rules, the different war scrolls that they've implemented, the new abilities, the new 3 sub-factions to the Slaanesh army, and the different thing that brings you. So I was just going to have a quick look at those and kind of highlight the things that I found really interesting with the book. Okay, so getting into the book, we've again got the contents pages here, as you can see. Lots of lore, lots of different kind of backstories behind the 3 factions. So here you can see you've got your invaders, the pretenders, and the godseekers. And from what I know about these factions, the pretenders are... Well, sorry, I'll start at the top. The invaders are basically the demonettes that are trying to fulfill their most basic desires. They're trying to claim land for Slaanesh. And then you have the pretenders, who are almost kind of trying to usurp Slaanesh. They feel like they don't need their god anymore. They want to become Slaanesh. And then you've got the godseekers, who are all about trying to actually find Slaanesh and locating her in her kind of sub-realm that the elves have. Alright, so we're going to start at looking at the allegiance abilities. Now, this is something that every unit in a Slaanesh army will get. Some things only work with Slaanesh demons, but it's something that even if you take Beast of Chaos in this army, they're going to get as well. So if we have a look, to start off, you've got your Feast of Depravities. Now, this is kind of your depravity points from your old edition, and they work in a similar way. So if a hero attacks another hero or monster, and they do damage to it, so for every wound you take off that hero, you gain 1 depravity point. So this is kind of meant to be showing the pain and excess that feeds Slaanesh. And here you can see the different costs of the depravity points. So starting off at 9 points, you know, Slaanesh's number of 9, you can get 10 demonettes. You can go all the way up to 30 depravity points to get 3 seeker chariots, a keeper of secrets, kind of the bigger stuff. As well as this, you've got your locus of diversion. Now, this is something that's actually quite interesting and a nice way of what they've kind of taken Slaanesh. And what this does, if you have a hero near an enemy hero, you can roll a dice on a 4-up or a 2-up if you're a greater demon. That hero can't fight until it's the end of the combat round. And now this is something that's quite interesting because you charge your Keeper of Secrets in there, and then on a 2-up it's actually safe for the entire battle round because the hero it's fighting can't fight back until the end. So you can kind of it allows you to kind of flow what you want to pick in an easier way, to pick, like, you know, 30 demonettes that have charged in instead of the Keeper of Secrets. And then, as well as this, the last very powerful thing I'm finding is a modified hit roll with a weapon by a Chaos Slaanesh model is a 6. The attack inflicts 2 hits, and if you've got 20 or models, that's 3 hits. And now that's kind of a bit crazy because Slaanesh get a lot of attacks. You got 2 attacks on demonettes, and there's a lot of ways to give your units more attacks. And again, this is Chaos Slaanesh, so if you take your Beast of Chaos and you want to add some of them to your Slaanesh army, and you take the battalion which gives them Slaanesh, you've now got that whole battalion will be getting the same as this because it's Chaos Slaanesh, it's not Hedonites, so it affects anything that's from Chaos and anything that's Slaanesh. Okay, so next we look at the 3 sub-factions, so the invaders, the pretenders, and the godseekers. And like I said earlier, these are the 3 main factions that they've been putting on Slaanesh. It's kind of like your lodgers with fire slayers, your temples with doors, okay? Each one gives you a different ability. So if we look at the invaders here, with this, it allows you to have up to 3 generals instead of only 1, but you can only take 1 command trait. Now, again, this is interesting for your built-in command abilities, you know, like your Inspiring Presence, your instant 6-inch run, because now it allows it to be a bigger bubble because you've got 3 generals instead of 1. A lot of the command abilities as well used by the Slaanesh data cards require you to be the general to use a command ability. I feel like this is something that Games Workshop are really pushing now with the addition of everybody being able to use their command ability instead of general. A lot of them now are becoming if you are the general of an army, you can use as a command ability, especially on the very powerful ones. So the invaders, from what I can read and their rules, they seem very competition is their main thing. So all the heroes are striving to be better than the other heroes. And you see this with some of the command traits. So you can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by this general whilst it's within 6 inches of another hero. You've got this ability here with the invaders where I said you can have 3 generals. However, you cannot use your command trait or command ability whilst they are within 12 inches of another invader's host generals. So yes, you have 3 generals, but they're all competing with each other. And when they're close to each other, they've kind of got a wary eye for each other. So you can't use your command abilities. Another thing that all 3 of the host are getting is a different way to generate depravity points. So with this one, you've got your escalating havoc, so you receive D3 depravity points if any invader's host units are wholly within the enemy territory. 3 or more, you get D6. So the invaders are very much about running up and getting in the enemy's face, and they've kind of shown this with their way of accumulating depravity points. So if we move on, we've got the pretenders. Again, they've got a different way of generating depravity points. So at the start of your hero phase, you receive D3 depravity points if your general is within 3 inches of any enemy units. Again, if you have 3 or more, then it's D6 depravity points. So this is more about a single hero, because these are the pretenders. This is the keeper of secrets that wants to embody the new Slaanesh, wants to be the new Slaanesh. And what this gives you is you can have 2 different command traits, which is quite crazy. In addition, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by melee and missile weapons by friendly pretenders host, whilst you have 10 or more models. So the way I envisage this army is going to be a keeper of secrets with a horde of lesser demons following it, because he or she feels like they are the new Slaanesh. So, like I said, it can take 2 different command abilities. Some of the interesting command abilities, once per combat phase in step 4 of an attack sequence, you can add D3 to the damage inflicted by 1 successful attack made by this general. And this was something interesting I wanted to highlight, actually. It's this new way of wording this rule. So in step 4 of the attack sequence. So to me, what that means is you roll your hit, you roll your wound, they fail their save, and then when you generate damage, that's when you decide to use your once per combat phase ability. I think that's kind of interesting how they're adding in this whole step 4 of an attack sequence to rules now. It kind of clarifies it a bit more. As well as you've got different artifacts for the host. So for example, you can add 2 to the attack characteristics of a melee weapon, which is going to be very powerful when we come on to seeing some of the different units that they can bring. And then finally we got the Godseekers. Now, from what I've read and from what I've been looking at, the Godseekers seem to all be about their Seeker chariots, the Exalted chariots, the Seeker chariots, kind of this fast-moving army that really just runs forward, hits, retreats, that kind of feel to it. So what they get is add 1 to charge roll for a Godseekers host army, which can be quite powerful when you take into how fast this army actually is. I mean, when we look at the Seeker cavalry, just the sheer speed these units can put down, you just, no matter where you are, you aren't safe from them. And again, these have a different way of generating depravity points. So you get D3 if a friendly Godseeker's host made a charge roll in that phase. If 3 or more made a charge roll, then you get D6. So again, this is really pushing your army to go fast, to go forward, to hit the enemy unit where it hurts. And again, they get their artifacts and their command trait. You can the hit roll for an attack made by this general in the battle. The first hit roll made by an attack in this general in a battle is automatically 6. So that's quite interesting, actually. So the first attack you ever make is always going to be a 6 in the battle. I mean, it's a very niche thing, but it can work quite well when you look at some of the weapons the generals can bring. The Seekers with their big claws. The Keeper of Secrets, sorry. Okay, so that's the 3 hosts. Moving on, you've got your spell laws. Now, they've kind of devised your spell laws up into 3 different bits. So you have your main Slaanesh demon wizard, the Law of Slaanesh. Then you have a smaller D3 table for Slaanesh Greater Demons, and these are the Forbidden Secrets of Slaanesh. And then again, you have another D3 table for the Law of Pain and Pleasure, which are for Mortal Slaanesh Wizards. Now, in the book, there are no Mortal Slaanesh Wizards. There isn't any things on the data scrolls, but however, you do have your Slaves to Darkness and their sorcerers, which can take marks. So you're going to be able to add Slaves to Darkness to this army, because of course they can have the Slaanesh keyword. But looking at some of these spells, you've got some very interesting ones, like, let's have a look here. You know, you can roll 1 dice for each enemy model in that unit, and for each 6 you gain 1 depravity point. Now that's quite crazy. They're really pushing out abilities to just generate lots and lots and lots and lots of depravity points. I mean, if you have a look, every time you hurt a hero, I mean, if you get a hero on a dragon, they're going to be like, what, 12, 14 wounds or something like that, and then you charge your Keeper of Secrets in there, that's going to be 13 depravity points. Then you're getting plus D3, D6 from your host abilities. Then you're getting spells like this. If you hit a 30-man unit, you're getting like at least 5, 10 depravity points from that, which is just going to be pushing you up and being able to summon more and more demons, being able to summon them all around the battlefield, and being able to grab objectives, as well as if you generate seekers, they can just move to the other end of the table wherever you want. So I think it's going to be a very powerful way of just keeping your army in the battle, because Slaanesh aren't tough, they're not going to be able to take a lot of hits, but you're just going to be able to be bringing more and more and more onto the table. Okay, so next up we've got the scenery pieces. So if you've been following Age of Sigmar, which I'm sure you all have, you all know that every new army that's coming out is getting a scenery piece, and they're very different in what they can do. A lot of the Khorne and the Fire Slayers help with the priest, you've got the ghouls which help with summoning, and now you've got this Fane of Slaanesh, and personally I love the model, this giant portal of Slaanesh with a Keeper of Secrets coming through it. And it's very interesting what this does. Again, it's in theme with the depravity point generation. So if you spend depravity points to summon a unit to the battlefield, and the unit is set up wholly within 12 inches of this terrain feature, you receive D3 depravity points after this unit has been set up. So you get a little bit of it back, basically. So you summon a 10 depravity point unit to the battlefield, you're going to get D3 of them back. And again, this is just keeping with a theme that I'm seeing through the army, which is just depravity point generation. Because if you come up against an army which only has a couple of heroes, 2 lesser heroes maybe, then you're going to really struggle with your depravity points. It's not like Seraphim, where you can just sit a Slann at the back of the battlefield and every single turn you're going to be generating a lot of depravity points, or Tzeentch or Khorne or Nurgle. All these armies have ways to generate their summoning points whenever they want, whereas Slaanesh, they can kind of struggle with that if the army doesn't take heroes. So you're seeing a lot of these abilities to generate more depravity points if they don't have heroes. As well as this, you've got another ability, the Damned Conduit, which if you do so, that you select a Chaos Slaanesh hero within 6 inches of the terrain feature to make a sacrifice. The hero suffers 1 mortal wound and you must roll a dice. On a 1, nothing happens, but on a 2 up, you re-roll hit rolls for attacks made by that hero until the next hero phase. So it's kind of sacrificing a bit of its essence to Slaanesh to get a bit better. But if a hero has an artifact of power, they can sacrifice that instead of suffering 1 mortal wound. If they do so, the artifact of power can no longer be used. And however, on a roll of a 2 up, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by that hero for the rest of the battle. So if you're taking a lot of battalions and you've got a lot of artifacts that you're not going to use, or you've kind of got this artifact that you're like, nah, it's cool, it's not great, you can get rid of it here and give your Keeper of Secrets, your new Herald, your Seeker Chariot Leader, reroll hits for the entire game, which is very, very powerful when you're thinking that every hit roll of 6 generates 2 hits. So you can reroll your misses and you'll get some 6s in there, which generate more hits. And it's just kind of this ever stacking ability that's just going to be generating lots and lots and lots of hits. Now I'm going to look at a couple of the War Scrolls. Now, I don't want to show you them all because I don't want to take that pleasure away from you, but I'm going to look at some that I think is my favourite. So I'm going to look at the new Keeper of Secrets War Scroll because they've been buffed exponentially, and the new Vengeful Alliance, that really big dude with an axe with the little demon on top of it. I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but it looks interesting and its abilities are pretty cool. So let's move on to the Keeper of Secrets. To start off, it's 14 wounds. That's quite a lot of wounds, you know, that's Magma Droth level of wounds, Hero and Dragon wounds, which is kind of what you want. I mean, it's a big demon, isn't it? It's got a 4-up save, yeah, kind of expected it. And now if you look at its description, it's a single model with an elegant great blade and an impaling claw. In addition, you can choose one of the following: a ritual knife, a sinister hand, a living whip, or a shining aegis. So you've got a bit of customization that you can do for your greater demon. So starting off, the elegant great blade, let's go with that because it's its main weapon. So it's 4 attacks at its top profile, it goes down to 2 on its bottom. It's 3s, 3s, -1, 2 damage. So, you know, nothing crazy, but it can still do work for you. And remember, every to hit roll of 6 would actually be 2 hits. Now, it's Impaling Claw. Now, this is something I wanted to highlight because this is quite scary. So, it's only 2 attacks. It's 3s, 3s, -2, but it's 5 damage. That's a lot of damage. And if you remember, you can pick a artifact which gives you +2 attacks on a weapon, so you can make that up to 4 attacks on 3s, 3s, -2, 5 damage. Every to hit roll of a 6 would be an additional hit, so, you know, with 4 attacks, maybe you'll get an extra one in there. Remember, you can reroll all failed to hit rolls if you sacrifice your artifact to it. So a Keeper of Secrets is quite crazy, and that's just the weapons. We've also got its ritual knife or sinister hand, you know, nothing crazy, 2s, 3s, -1, 1 damage, but it has different special rules. So the ritual knife, at the end of the combat phase, pick one enemy model with 1 inch and roll a dice. On a 1, nothing happens. 2 to 5, it suffers 1 mortal wound, and on a 6, it suffers D3 mortal wound. So again, this is keeping in line with the Keeper of Secrets almost being a character killer more than anything, because it gets that ability to shut down heroes, it gets the depravity points from killing heroes. This ritual knife, you can kind of just stab a hero and do some mortal wounds to it. You know, maybe you've taken it down to 1 or 2 wounds and you just need something to knock it down. I've had it before, we've all had it before. It's the most frustrating thing to come up against, and just on a 2-up you manage to do that mortal wound and kill it, and now you're off to go and kill something else. You've got Dark Temptations. Now this is something quite interesting. It kind of, if you know the lore of Slaanesh, you know, they're very like temptuous. They whisper in your ear, tell you about all these cool things they can give you, and then you get turned into a pile of mush whilst they stab you with a whip. So what this does, you pick one enemy hero within 3 inches of the model and ask your opponent if they wish for their hero to accept the temptation. If they refuse, you suffer D3 mortal wounds. But if they accept, they add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by that hero. But then at the start of the next combat phase, roll a dice. On a 1 or 3, 1 to 3, the hero no longer receives the modifier to their hit rolls, and on a 4 to 6, it is slain. So this is something very interesting where you can make your enemy better, but it's got a 50-50 chance of actually just killing you. And again, this is more down to the opponent's choice, because at the end of the day, even if they refuse, you're taking D3 mortal wounds from it. That's nothing to scoff at. Again, it's just causing more damage to heroes to help try and take them down. Delicate Precision. This is very interesting. If a modified wound roll for attack made by this melee weapon is a 6, that attack inflicts a number of mortal wounds equal to the damage characteristic of the weapon. So remember that 4 attack, 5 damage Impaling Claw we were talking about, where it can get more attacks. Now every to wound roll of 6 is actually 5 mortal wounds. So you're just going to be able to just carve through some heroes like they're nothing. You've got Living Whips, where you roll a dice on a 3-up, pick 1 melee weapon that an enemy monster is armed with, and subtract 1s to hit rolls. So you're fighting a dragon, it's got its big scary maw attack, and you just whip it round the mouth, and now it's -1 to hit with its maw. That's, again, something quite powerful to be able to shut down like big weapons, big 3 damage weapons, say a Stonehorn's Horns or a Terrorgeist Maw. You can really make it your Keeper of Secrets more survivable. Got a Shining Aegis, so this is one of its abilities that it could have taken, one of its war gear, and it gives it a 6-up ignore. So if you're worried about your Keeper of Secrets not surviving much, then you can give it this, and it gives it a 6-up for wound and mortal wound negation, which, you know, isn't mental, but it can save you. I mean, it happens, you see like Daughters of Cain and Death players, that 6-up to ignore damage can actually help you quite a lot. You're 14 wounds, so, you know, statistically, if you want to talk statistics, you're going to save at least 2 or 3 of those wounds. So you're increasing your wounds to about 16, so it can be quite good at keeping you around if you're just ending up with 1 wound. So the Seamstress Hand is another thing it's armed with. So if an enemy model was slain by wounds inflicted by this model's attacks, you can heal D3 wounds. If enemy heroes were slain, then you can heal D6 wounds. So again, kind of pushing it towards being a character killer, even though I feel it could go for a unit quite easily. But again, if you're worried about the survivability of your Keeper of Secrets, you can give it this and it can heal it up after it's done attacks, kind of, you know, eats it or something like that. So magic. It's cacophonic choir. I think I've said that right. Probably haven't. I apologise for all of you out there screaming at me. Cacophonic. Is that it? There we go. We'll go with that. Cacophonic choir. So it's a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, roll 2d6. An enemy unit within 6 inches of the character that has its bravery characteristic less than that suffers D3 mortal wounds. So again, this is a theme I'm seeing in Slaanesh, and I think it's a theme Slaanesh have kind of had for quite a while now, is this ability to fight on your bravery or your leadership. A lot of things are going to be affecting your bravery or doing damage based on your bravery. So low bravery units like Skaven or Beastmen or even Stormcast, they don't have a particularly high bravery of 6. These are going to really affect, and there's a lot of abilities which give units -1 bravery, -2 bravery from artifacts you can give your units. So I think it's something interesting. You know, 2d6 on a bravery is always a risk because you come up against a demon army and the bravery 10 across the board, and that spell's basically useless. But against lower bravery armies, like most of them are these days, then you're going to be quite lucky. You're going to be able to get, you know, a D3 mortal wound off there. Okay, so coming on to its command ability, this Excess of Violence. You pick 1 Hedonite unit, wholly within 12 inches, and it can pile in and fight for a second time. So this is something we're seeing a lot in the new Battletomes. The Feeding Frenzy of the Ghouls, the Fire Slayers have it, the Khorne Bloodbound have it, this ability to pile in and attack twice. And again, I think it's a very powerful ability. Your Keeper of Secrets fights a dragon, you take the dragon down to 5 wounds, and then you just can spend a command point to pile in and attack twice. Or you've got Demonettes fighting a huge horde of 60 zombies and you've killed 30 of the zombies. You spend a command ability and you pile in and attack again. It's something very interesting. I mean, this is different to the Feeding Frenzy of the Ghouls because it can be selected to pile in and attack again. So this is, to me... Oh, wait, no, I've read that wrong. Yeah, it can be selected to fight a second time, yeah. So you fight with your Demonettes, then the enemy fights, and then you can select it again. So this is quite common with what we're seeing in units now. So, moving on to the Vengeful Alliance, the very nice new model that we've seen, this big brutish dude with an axe with the demon circling around on top of it. So if we look at its stats, it's a move of 8 inches. That's not shabby. It's quite fast. Wounds 9 with a 4-up save. Okay, that's pretty cool. Its attacks, 4 attacks, 4s, 3s, -2 d3 damage with its big axe. Yeah, that's nice. 4 d3 damage, that's cool. And then with its Scourging Whip, 8 attacks at 3s, 4s, -1, 1 damage. Okay, that's cool. It's Deadly Symbiosis, so when this model fights in the combat phase, you must pick either its Axe of Dominion or Scourging Whip. You can only make attacks with that weapon in that phase. Then, after the players have picked other units to fight, the model can pile in and attack twice with its weapon. You can re-roll hit rolls for attacks made by the other weapon in the phase. So Again, you're getting this pile in and attack twice ability. The unit can run and still charge later in the same turn. This is something you're seeing all throughout the Slaanesh Battletome. Seekers get it, your Demonettes get it. It's just this ability to make them uber fast without having to increase their move characteristics. And it's magic. Now this is where we start getting on to the interesting part. So Subvert has a casting value of 7. Successfully cast, pick one enemy hero within 18 inches of the caster, and that's visible to them. The hero cannot use any of its command abilities until your next hero phase. That's pretty mental. That's very interesting. This ability to shut down command abilities of heroes. I mean, you're taking on Nagash. I mean, you're probably not going to get the spell off, but if you do get the spell off, that's his huge game-changing command ability shut down. Or a lot of like the Vampire Lords have abilities to give a unit +1 attack. You're shutting that down. A lot of people rely their strategies on command abilities, and you can shut them down. I mean, ghouls with Feeding Frenzy. You got that big unit of 40 ghouls that's charged in. You use Subvert, and now the Ghoul King can't make them pile in and attack twice. I mean, that could change the game crazily. It's command ability, Regal Authority. You can use this command ability. If you do so at the end of the phase, you can reroll hit rolls of 1s for friendly Chaos Slaanesh whilst they're wholly within 18 inches. Nice. In addition, you can use this command ability at the start of the Battle Shock phase. This model is your general and on the battlefield. You do not need to take Battle Shock tests for Chaos Slaanesh units whilst they're wholly within 18 inches. So, again, this is actually something quite interesting, something new. I don't think I've seen it before. This dual command ability. So you can use your command ability at the start of the combat phase and it does something. Or you can use it at the start of the Battle Shock phase and it does something different. I think it's quite interesting. It's almost like this unit has 2 command abilities, which works quite well because it's a 2-model unit. I kind of like the feel it's got for this. You've got the little demon on top, which does one thing with its command ability, and the bigger brutish demon, which does a different thing with its command ability. So I think it's quite interesting, it's quite fluffy, and I really like what they've done here. Okay, so that's kind of a quick overview of the book. My first impressions, it's a very, very interesting and powerful book. The way they've gone with it, it feels very elvish, very delicate, but very hard-hitting and very fast. And I think that is always something that Slaanesh has been. It's been a Chaos Elf faction almost, if you will. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a very powerful army. I think you're going to see it in tournaments a lot. Just the sheer number of attacks this army can put out is crazy. That flat 6 up to do 2 hits instead of 1 can really swing games. I mean, I know, like, prayers. So I play Daughters of Cain and the Catechism of Murder. That prayer can do so much work for you. So to have that ability across your army all the time, I think it's going to be really good. So, yeah, I think they've finally given the love Slaanesh needed, and they've done a really good job with it.